before he had his fatal stroke, a man from MIT came to the archives, and they asked him, what drawings would you like to see? And he said, I didn't come here for the drawings. I told you that. I came here to see the calculations. And they had a couple, 3, 4 boxes of my father's unorganized calculations. They put him in a room with all those boxes and forgot about him for 3, 4 hours. And finally somebody said, do you think that guy's died? He's never come out of there. Maybe we better go look. And they went. He was very healthy, sitting behind the desk. And they say, are you all right? And he said, yeah. Do you realize what you have here? He said, this is pure mathematical poetry. He said, let me give you an example. We at MIT have been looking for an algorithm for some 20 years, and we found it 2 years ago. But this man found it using a slide rule in 1934. I wish my father had heard that. When he would help me with my algebra, that is, solve the algebra assignment, I was sick for 3 weeks, and he did that. He just did all the homework. And I said, look, why don't you tell me how you're doing this problem? And he looked at me quite, not amusedly, just sort of far off look in his eyes, and he said, I don't know. And I thought at the time he was just passing me off, but I don't think that he was. He honestly didn't know, but he could arrive at the answer. My own personal feeling is that my grandfather became a little jealous of my father because he knew absolutely everything about building a building. He could survey the site, he could stake it, he could bulldoze it, he could plumb it, he could wire it. He could not share power. He had 2 years of work ahead. He could have said, this is my son-in-law, Wesley Peters, this is my senior apprentice, John Hill, this is John Howe. Any one of those people he could have given a name for, but when he died, you see, nobody knew who any of them were. And today, nobody really knows who my father is at all. I think my father should have gotten more of the design load immediately. He was the de facto head of the drafting room, called the chief architect, but he never got the support that he really needed, the just complete support, do what Wes says. But he's a little sort of a guilty person too, because he thought he could do everything, and doing everything sapped some of the energy for doing the critical things. He was pretty much willing to do anything. He wouldn't have left no matter what. I tried to get him to leave in '78 because I thought he was just splattering himself all over the wall. But I arranged for my aunt to sponsor his apartment. Aaron Green said, Brandoch, I'll think about taking him in, but anybody else other than Wes, I'd take right away. But I'll have to think about that. And he called me up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he said, Brandoch, I thought about this, and I woke up this morning and I said, it's going to be very difficult with Wes in my office, but I'm really looking forward to it. You tell your father, come over as soon as possible. And I went back. I thought I'd done everything, and I went and told my father, and he said, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. Well, it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't the end of anything. All he had to do was go over to Aaron's office. In 2 years, they would have had him back again. His position would have been stronger. I think he could have negotiated some things, Basically, if you don't listen to Brandoch, I really think he would have done better with the breather, but he just didn't do it. Place at a difficult time. If a person reads Mary Renault's Funeral Games, you get a pretty good impression of what happened to Taliesin. There were then, and there have been for a long time, a group of basically niche seekers who, as long as they had their niche, they were content, but they'd fight like hell for that niche.